Thinking Outside is a company that provides team and individual development. We work to build effective team cultures and to build strong leadership. We do as much of the work as we can outside, working with nature. So although we're based in Colchester, we work all over the country at whatever venues suit our clients, and we can find suitable venues wherever our clients are. The reason we work outside is because there's lots of evidence, both academic research and actual experience that we have, that shows that it improves creativity, it increases problem solving, it enhances memory and attention. There's obvious benefits that people, I'm sure, will be aware of around well-being, but one of the really key things is around what the academics call pro-social behaviour, which basically means that it really helps people get along as better colleagues. So it really helps resolve and avoid conflicts, helps people work through their challenges in a way that doesn't feel adversarial and conflictual, and it supports ethical decision making. So there's lots and lots of benefits for it. Some of the examples of the work that we do is with hybrid teams. People know how to work in the office when everyone's in, and we've all learned how to work with everybody being at home. But when some are in and some are out, then actually taking a deliberate process to how is that going to work? What kind of culture are we building to help have the glue for the team is really useful. We can go in and help fix, for want of a better word, dysfunctional teams. We help forge new teams, help really accelerate them getting together and working really well as an effective unit. We do lots of work around strategy development and alignment around organisational strategy. And we don't need broken teams to work with. We can help good teams become great teams. So.
And I think, to follow on from that, it's also really worth highlighting what it is that we don't do. People hear that we work outside and they assume high ropes or whitewater rafting or den building. And there's absolutely a place for those types of team building activities. What we do is very different. It's a much slower pace. It's not adrenaline fueled. It's not about insurance. It's about taking the conversations you would have had in a training room or a development conference and taking those conversations outside. It's really inclusive. It's particularly good for people who are neurodivergent, for example. And it's inclusive because you can orientate yourself in space where you're comfortable. So if you want to take a step away from somebody, you can. But also, as Sara said, in terms of conflict, walking side by side with somebody is really powerful. And when we can't work outside, we bring nature in a variety of ways, through tools and techniques and physically bringing some in the room. What we're finding is when we work with teams outside in the wetter months or the colder months, we're having as much impact. And the teams are really engaging in that, because you forget how to go outside. If you're not a dog walker or you haven't got kids, you typically get in your car and you go to work, and most people aren't out for a day in nature. And we work near big trees so that you can stay dry, and we always find a way to make it work. Sara and I first started working together just over 20 years ago. Just over 20 years ago. And within sort of 6 months of starting to work together, we actually put in a joint job application to run the innovation lab at the University of Essex, which was a creativity suite for visioning and facilitation and management development. And we set that up together and we ran that together. Our children are the same age, so the friendship that we built there has endured, and both of us have worked in organisational development, in culture change, so we've been each other's critical friends and support through that. We do work like restructuring, leadership development, lots of group work, lots of one-to-one work, coaching and those types of things. So that started from the iLab and it's developed across time. And then how did this start?
Well, so the company was born from COVID, actually. So what we were finding is both of us were working as coaches and facilitators, and because of lockdown, everything was suddenly on screen. The way we could get away from working on screen was you could meet face to face if you were outside. And we were having one of those virtual, I was going to say cups of coffee, it wasn't a cup of coffee, it was a virtual gin and tonic, as we did in COVID times. And I was saying something interesting is happening. I'm going deeper and quicker, and I'm having much richer conversations with my coaching clients. And the only thing that's changed is that I've taken the conversation outside. And you know, Sophie was saying, yes, that's what she was finding too. So the conversation that we had was, well, if we can get those benefits one by one, why wouldn't the same things apply if we were to take teams outside? And given that our experience had been lots and lots of team development through organizational development experience, we thought there's an obvious thing for us to do there. So that's what led to us creating the business, and you know, so from that kind of experience of working one-to-one and then testing it with groups, that's what's then taken us into kind of actually finding that there is all this research that backs up what we were finding. And so it's kind of it's been a really interesting journey for us to find that, so to actually experience it and observe it, and then you know, find that kind of underpinning for it. So I guess my career, what brought me to that point was a fairly traditional full-time permanent set of contracts throughout my career. I've never, you know, since leading full-time education, apart from a period of maternity leave, I've never had a period away from full-time employment, and started in HR and worked my way up the career ladder. So my last job before going into that kind of self-employed space, literally just before COVID hit, was director of HR and OD for the University of Suffolk. So very although I've moved about within HR from kind of generalist to staff development to organizational development, a fairly traditional linear career, which is not the same as my friend here.
Mine's been complete chaos and wonderful at the same time. So I've got a really zigzaggy portfolio career, and actually I owe it all to a really unpleasant man who bullied me in my first full-time professional role. And when I resigned from that role, I swore that the bad people were never going to have more of my week than I did. And as a result, I have worked in learning and organisational development, coaching, culture change 3 days a week. And that freed up the time to do other things. And actually, the people I worked with were lovely. They weren't bad people, except Sara. But I've worked 3 days a week doing OD, and I've had time to do other things. So I actually spent 20 years as a humanist funeral celebrant. And I used to go into schools and run rocket car workshops for the British Land Speed team, which sounds very disparate, amongst other things. It sounds very disparate, but actually when I work with funeral families, it's coaching skills to get them to talk to me. It's facilitation skills to lead the ceremony on the day. It's a very similar toolbox that I work from. And so I've come from a very varied, I used to take pride in having 3 or 4 contracts at once rather than this linear sequential.
I think our biggest wish is to help get some understanding out there that what we're offering is so much more than a jolly or a bit of window dressing, to help potential clients understand the impact that can be had, and it lasts so much longer than that one day. The return on investment that we are seeing. So we've worked with some groups, some quite tricky groups, and the what we, you know, we think we're going about 3 times faster than we would normally do in a more traditional indoor setting. So it's not just about the nice well-being side of things. This is real, you know, real impact, and helping people understand that, you know, get past the as Sophie said, the any anxieties that they might have about, oh, it's going to be endurance stuff, or it's going to be adrenaline, or it's going to be in some way tangential to actually team development and the effectiveness of the team. And I think some of that might be nervousness about the weather. Your question around, you know, do people have anxieties about the weather? I think some people genuinely do. But so we had a showcase for potential clients at the end of June, and we managed to land on the one day in June when it rained all day. And in this part of the world, it hardly, if we were up in Manchester, it might be different. But in East Anglia, it hardly ever rains all day. But we managed to find the day that it did. But people arrived and they had a waterproof top layer. They had waterproof shoes. We were able to manage the day so that when the weather was properly tempestuous, we were under cover. So we keep people warm and dry, because nobody wants to engage with us if they're cold and wet. That's, you know, that's just silly. But we kept people warm and dry, but we did go out in the rain. And some of the feedback that we've had, and we're talking to the people who came along about how they're actively wanting us to go and work with their team. So, you know, they didn't go away and think never again. They're saying, when can you come and work with our teams? But some of the feedback that we had was they'd completely forgotten that it was raining. They hadn't even noticed that it was still raining. So it's helping people who are curious to just take, that's the wish that we'd have, is to just come and take a little bit of a chance with us and work with us, and we'll make sure, you know, every day that we build is bespoke to whatever the team that we're working with needs, and we will make sure that we deliver and then some.
Yeah, I'd also wish for a willingness to understand that we work around the weather. We took a team out in that there was a week before Christmas when it was snowing and really icy. Remember, it was sort of -5, -6, -7. And we ran a team event in Castle Park in Colchester, which was rather too exciting for Sara because she's the first aider of our group. And we took a team out. It was very steep. It was very icy. This team were fantastic. Halfway through the afternoon, we had a warm venue for them and hot chocolate. And we said, the next exercise, would you like to work indoors or outdoors? And they all went back out the door. It's remarkably, once you settle into it, it's remarkably tempting to be out there and actually in it. And I think the quality of the conversations that they're having is so much better. And there's a psychological safety out there as well. So I just wish people would understand, be less nervous about the weather. We're not going to make you stand on a windswept pier in the pouring rain. We haven't tried that yet, actually. Maybe we will. Really important for us to find networks that have people in them who understand the challenges that we're facing, and that we have things in common so that we can share that learning. And for us, what Ambitious Women in Essex is giving us is learning how to build a business, and being part of that mutually supportive community who get it, and you can have those frank conversations. We're also engaged with Aaron Desmond runs the Networking Essex. We found that to be a really supportive community, and actually they started doing networking, and people are realizing that the benefits of going outside and having those conversations, which has been fantastic. In terms of our continuing professional development, our CPD community, we actually run our CPD community. So we run a community of organisational development practitioners, and we've been running that for a few years now. But that's very different to learning about running a business. So what we get from Ambitious Women Essex is not only the local contacts rather than the national community that we're a part of, but also that understanding of setting up a business. So
yeah, that sharing the pain. I think the other thing that we get is actually we're building a little bank of potential people to refer on. So, you know, some of the, if we're working with a client and they're talking to us about, you know, do you know anybody who might run a payroll? Or do you know anybody that, you know, we need to redevelop our website? We've now got a set of people that we could say, actually, you know, they might be the right people for you. And we would hope that people might reciprocate. So I think, you know, there is that kind of mutuality in a network like this that I think is really useful.
My words of wisdom definitely come from 20 years of conducting funerals. Life is really short. So when there's an opportunity, say yes, see what happens if you can.
I guess mine sits slightly beside that. I think it's good to have a plan. So it's useful to have a plan, but don't cement it in stone too much. You know, if an opportunity comes along, be prepared to change your plan. But you know, that whole thing about, you know, how will you get there if you don't know where you're going? And I guess I would add to that, you know, don't be afraid to ask advice, ask for support and help when you need it. And I guess we both say get a coach.
Get a coach. Definitely get a coach. Coach would be a really good choice. In terms of supporting another woman in Essex and her business, I would really like to give huge credit and support to Amanda Green, who about a year ago established the Chill Out Centre in Stanway. She herself is a massage therapist and Reiki and reflexology, but what she's done is she's built a community of practitioners around her, and so she is offering everything for ADHD support to women, to gong baths, to there's a hypnotherapy practitioner there. She's running menopause work. She has people who are running menopause workshops and yoga. She's built an extraordinary community at the Chill Out Centre, and her energy and her enthusiasm and actually her generosity of spirit, her generosity is extraordinary, and I can't recommend her highly enough.